Hi, Radiant Leo. Let me ask you something that your soul might already know. What if just one small mistake today could quietly dim the brilliant light you've worked so hard to build? But what if one honest truth, seen clearly, could finally set you free? Welcome, beautiful soul, to Eternal Mindfulness. This isn't just another horoscope reading. This is a sacred moment of alignment between your spirit and the universe. You didn't land here by accident. You were guided here by something deeper, an invisible thread of energy, woven through time and space, that led you straight to this message at the exact right moment. April 13th holds a mysterious power for you, Leo. A final cosmic warning wrapped in gentleness. A whisper rather than a shout. Today isn't about fear, it's about awareness. It's about pausing long enough to ask yourself, am I choosing from love or fear? From alignment or from old wounds? Because the universe is offering you a moment that could shift everything, but only if you're awake enough to see it. You, dear Leo, are no stranger to the spotlight. You shine effortlessly. But today, the invitation is different. You're not being asked to shine brighter for others. You're being asked to turn that light inward. To illuminate the shadows within yourself, not to fix them, but to understand them, to make peace with them, and to step forward with a clarity that's been waiting patiently within you all along. Maybe you've been feeling something lately, a strange restlessness, a tug in your chest, dreams that linger long after waking. That's no coincidence. It's energy trying to speak through you. It's the divine asking, are you ready to reclaim your power? To see what's been blocking your radiance? I want to take a moment, before we go deeper, to express my deepest gratitude for your presence. Every like, every comment, every time you subscribe to Eternal Mindfulness, you help breathe life into this sacred space. Your support isn't just helping a channel grow, it's helping a global community of seekers and souls step into deeper truth and healing. And I honor you for being part of that. So thank you, from the bottom of my heart, for being here. And trust me when I say this, Leo, you'll want to stay until the very last second of this video. Because what the cosmos is about to reveal could unlock a transformation you didn't even know you needed, but your soul has been quietly preparing for. If you're already feeling that stirring inside, I invite you to anchor your presence by commenting below with the number 8, the sacred number of strength, power, and infinite self-return. It's your way of signaling to the universe, I'm here. I'm ready. I claim my path. Now, take a deep breath with me. Feel that fire in your chest, steady and alive. It's time. Let's begin this journey together. Sometimes, the most powerful movements happen in silence. Not everything that transforms us comes with noise or disruption. Often, it arrives subtly, like sunlight shifting behind clouds or a soft breath you didn't notice you were holding. Today's energy moves just like that. Beneath the familiar rhythm of your routines, beneath the steady pulse of responsibilities and interactions, there's a quiet vibration echoing from deep within your being. It's as if something ancient within you is stirring, stretching, and beginning to awaken. You may not have words for it yet, but you can feel it, an unspoken invitation to look inward, to trace the outline of your own light. Astrologically, this moment is shaped by the dynamic interplay between your ruling planet, the Sun, and the cosmic forces of Pluto and Neptune. While the Sun represents your vitality and identity, Pluto draws you toward deep transformation, often through endings and release. Neptune, on the other hand, bathes everything in intuition and mystery. When these energies intertwine, they don't shake your world from the outside, they reshape it from the inside. And for you, radiant Leo, this isn't about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who you've always been beneath the layers of expectation, habit, and performance. You may notice this through sudden moments of quiet reflection. A conversation that leaves you oddly thoughtful. A dream that lingers longer than usual. An emotion that wells up without a clear trigger. These are not random. They are soft signals from the deeper self, gently inviting you to pause and ask, is the life I'm living still aligned with who I'm becoming? Because just like nature, everything in us flows in cycles. And today, a subtle cycle is completing itself, not with an explosion, but with a breath. The number 13, connected to this particular day, carries a misunderstood energy. In many cultures, it's seen as a number of endings, but also of sacred beginnings. It signifies the close of a loop, a chapter quietly writing its final lines, so that the next one can begin with more truth. In this way, 13 becomes a portal, not a conclusion. It is the moment before the leap, the deep inhale before stepping onto a new path. And what makes this shift so important is that it doesn't demand you to do more. It asks you to simply become more conscious of what you're already carrying. In the tarot, this energy is beautifully reflected through the sun. While the sun is often seen as joyful and bright, its deeper wisdom is in the reminder that true illumination doesn't come from being seen, it comes from seeing clearly. It's about learning to radiate from within, to find clarity and warmth in your own heart before looking for it in the approval of others. Imagine a lion walking steadily through the dark, not lost, not afraid, but glowing with a light that comes from within its chest. That's you today. Not performing, not chasing, just being. Glowing. Knowing. When we talk about self-realization, we often imagine it as a final destination. But in truth, it's a continual unfolding, a series of gentle awakenings. Today is one of them. A moment to place your hand over your heart and simply ask, what part of me have I ignored that now wants to be seen? The wisdom of the ancient sages teaches that clarity does not arise from effort, but from stillness. In stillness, the murkiness settles and truth rises like clear water. So if you feel a strange stillness today, don't rush past it. Let it hold you. Let it speak. There is no pressure to fix or force anything. Just witness the gentle glow returning to places that had long been left in shadow. Because your light, dear Leo, isn't something you create, it's something you uncover. And today, that uncovering begins. It's easy to trust your light when others reflect it back to you, through praise, attention, admiration. But what happens when the applause fades, when no one is watching, when the stage is quiet? That's where today's energy begins to do its real work. The truth is, your radiance, Leo, was never meant to depend on being seen. It was meant to be known, deeply and unwaveringly, by you first. That's the core of your power, and it's also where the challenge lies. Right now, there's a quiet test unfolding, not a test of performance, but a test of presence. The cosmos is gently asking, if no one cheers, do you still believe in your worth? If no one validates your decision, will you still choose what feels right to your heart? These aren't abstract questions. They show up in the most ordinary of moments. When you say yes to something just to avoid disappointing others. When you smile even though your chest is heavy. When you hold on to a relationship or a path simply because you've already come so far. These choices may seem small, but over time, they accumulate into a life that drifts further and further from your truth. There is a quiet kind of suffering that comes from denying our inner voice, not because we are weak, but because we've been taught that strength means pushing through. But real strength is far more nuanced. It means being honest with ourselves. It means pausing when the world says, go, and whispering, not yet, when everyone expects you to be okay. There is a kind of courage in acknowledging discomfort without hiding it behind a mask of competence. And today's energy supports exactly that kind of bravery. From a deeper perspective, every time we act from a place of habit, especially habits rooted in fear or people-pleasing, we reinforce patterns that don't align with who we are becoming. You might feel tempted today to take the familiar road simply because it feels safe, or to stay silent when your truth feels too inconvenient. But what if the discomfort you're feeling isn't a sign of weakness, but a signal that you're ready for more? Not more applause. Not more roles to play. But more honesty. More simplicity. More soul-aligned choices. In teachings of inner clarity, it's said that the mind creates layers of identity out of repetition. We become what we do again and again, not because it's who we truly are, but because it's what we've normalized. To interrupt that cycle, we must first recognize it. And this recognition doesn't require blame or shame. It just asks for awareness. Like seeing a fog that has always been there, and only now realizing how much it has clouded your view. So if today brings you face to face with a decision, big or small, consider this: am I choosing this to be accepted? To avoid discomfort? Or am I choosing from a place of quiet truth? The answer might not come quickly. That's okay. Let the question linger. Let it echo softly, without forcing a conclusion. Often, the insight arises in the space we give ourselves to feel, rather than in the rush to fix. Growth isn't always about adding new things. Sometimes it's about letting go of the things we've outgrown, behaviors, identities, even dreams that no longer match who we are becoming. And letting go is not the same as giving up. It's the conscious act of releasing something that once served you so that you can step into something that now does. So ask yourself gently, what am I still holding on to, not because it nourishes me, but because I once invested in it? And more importantly, what truth would I begin living today if I trusted that my light is already enough, even in silence? Let that question stay with you. Let it soften your shoulders and quiet your mind. There is great wisdom in the pause. It often begins with a subtle shift, like a breath you didn't realize you were holding suddenly released. That single moment of awareness, when you pause just long enough to notice what you're feeling, is powerful. It's not about doing something dramatic or fixing everything at once. It's about softening into yourself, about telling the truth of your inner world without apology. And right now, that truth may be asking to be heard in a quieter, more honest way than ever before. You don't need to have it all figured out to be worthy of peace. You don't need to appear strong to be resilient. In fact, some of the strongest moments in life are the ones where we finally let ourselves fall apart, gracefully, without guilt, and with full permission to feel it all. When you admit that you're not okay, you're not collapsing, you're clearing space. You're no longer pretending. And in that clearing, light gets in. This is how transformation begins, not with force, but with surrender. There is wisdom in softness. When we allow ourselves to be fully human, to feel disappointment, frustration, longing, we reconnect with our core. We stop resisting what is and begin flowing with what wants to become. This is what elevates your energy, not perfection, but presence. There's a quiet power in whispering to yourself, "I don't have to carry this alone anymore," and meaning it. Think of a river. It doesn't rush in straight lines, nor does it demand certainty. It winds, it flows, it trusts gravity to do the guiding. And yet, somehow, it always finds its way. That's how the universe works through you when you stop trying to control the outcome. There's nothing passive about surrender. Letting go of control requires faith in something deeper, your own resilience, your ability to land on your feet, and your trust that not knowing is often the beginning of knowing. Today's energy invites you to step onto the edge of your own growth and simply say yes to what you cannot yet see. You don't need to know where it's going. You only need to know where your feet are. One step of honesty. One breath of courage. That's enough. There's an image that might speak to your heart, standing barefoot on the edge of a high cliff, wind brushing your skin, and your wings, those invisible ones, beginning to stretch. You don't leap blindly. You listen first. You feel when the moment is right. And then, you rise. It's also a day for reclaiming something ancient inside you, your intuition. Not the voice that argues or explains, but the quiet knowing that lives in your body before your mind catches up. That tiny flutter in your stomach, that sense of lightness or tightness when faced with a decision, that's not random. That's intelligence beyond words. So many of us have learned to ignore it, to dismiss it in favor of logic or other people's opinions. But every time we do, we disconnect from our own inner compass. What if today, you did the opposite? This is a chance to rebuild trust with yourself. To hear the whisper and respond, even if it doesn't make sense yet. Intuition is not here to impress others. It's here to protect and guide you. And it works best when it's honored, quietly, consistently, and without needing permission. So if something inside says, "This isn't for me," listen. If you feel drawn towards something unexpected, lean in. Let yourself be led by something ancient and honest. You don't have to prove anything to deserve alignment. You just have to choose it. Again and again, in small, courageous ways. So take a breath, drop into your body, and ask gently, what truth wants to rise in me today? That question alone can begin the shift. There's something quietly radical about making space to pause, especially in a world that constantly demands quick responses, instant decisions, and constant motion. When you stop, even for a breath, you interrupt the noise. You reclaim your clarity. In the energetic landscape of today, where subtle pressure might be pushing you toward old habits or automatic reactions, this kind of conscious stillness becomes not just helpful, but necessary. And for you, Leo, with your bold heart and radiant presence, the most transformative thing you can do might not be grand or dramatic. It might be as simple as choosing not to rush. Before reacting, before speaking, before saying yes out of obligation or no out of fear, ask yourself, Is this response coming from my grounded self, or from a need to protect an image? You'll often find that the truth lives in the pause between impulse and intention. In that space, your inner wisdom has room to speak. And when you let your actions arise from that place, not from fear of judgment, but from a rooted sense of who you are, you begin to rewire everything. Even nature teaches this kind of wisdom. No tree forces its growth. It leans into light, stretches patiently, and allows the seasons to shape it. And today, your energy is being called to return to something just as organic, just as honest. Take a few moments to reconnect with what's real. Step outside. Let the sun touch your skin. The sun, your ruling celestial body, is more than symbolic. It's the literal source of light and life. To feel it on your face, without distraction, is to remember that you were made to shine, not perform. You don't need to be on to be valuable. Your mere existence is already radiant. As you slow down and ground yourself in the present moment, it becomes easier to recognize the stories you've been telling yourself. The ones that whisper, you need to keep going, keep proving, keep chasing. And it becomes easier to rewrite them with something more nourishing. This is where intention begins to reshape experience. One small way to shift the energy is by putting new words in front of your eyes, words that reflect the version of you you're becoming. Not the version shaped by pressure, but the one that's aligned with peace, with truth, with gentle power. Handwriting affirmations might sound simple, but it is deeply symbolic. When you write something down by hand, you anchor it not just in your mind, but in your physical space. It becomes real, tangible, a daily invitation back to center. Imagine looking in the mirror and seeing these truths looking back at you. I shine from within. I have nothing to prove. I release what's outdated and welcome what's aligned. I trust myself and the path unfolding before me. These are not just sentences. They are seeds. Planted with intention. Watered each morning by your awareness. This process is not about becoming someone new. It's about shedding what no longer fits so you can move more freely as the person you've always been. The teachings that endure remind us, the outer world is always reflecting the state of the inner world. When the mind is scattered, everything feels urgent. But when the heart is steady, even chaos can pass through you without knocking you off course. So these small actions, pausing, grounding, affirming, are not passive. They're powerful acts of energetic alignment. By choosing to act with mindfulness today, you interrupt patterns that have been running for years. You send a message to yourself and the world that you are not here to be controlled by the past. You are here to participate fully, consciously, and beautifully in the unfolding of your own life. And it all begins not with effort, but with presence. Some days speak to you through quiet details, the way your breath catches unexpectedly, the sudden wave of tiredness, the hesitation before saying yes to something you're not truly aligned with. Today is one of those days. A moment where life is inviting you to gently scan across all the moving parts of your world, your body, your efforts, your resources, your heart, and ask, is any of this still supporting who I truly am? Or am I just going through the motions? Because even the brightest light needs moments of reset. Even the strongest fire needs care. You might notice that your energy isn't quite steady today. Thoughts may feel scattered, emotions may come in waves, and your usual clarity could seem just out of reach. That doesn't mean something is wrong, it means something is shifting. The body often responds first, quietly signaling that it's time to slow down, to nourish rather than push. Instead of masking these sensations with more stimulation, try choosing gentleness. A warm herbal tea, chamomile or lavender, can calm the nervous system without asking your mind to fix anything. One hand placed lightly over your chest, paired with a few intentional breaths, can bring you back to yourself in a way that no outside advice ever could. In the realm of work, a subtle opportunity may arise, one that's not loud or dramatic, but meaningful nonetheless. Don't rush to analyze it. Let your body feel it first. Does it bring expansion or contraction? Does your breath ease or tighten when you imagine saying yes? Sometimes we get caught up in what makes sense on paper, what looks good, what others might approve of. But the real compass is always internal. Ask yourself quietly, am I doing this because it lights me up, or because it fits someone else's map of success? The clarity that arises from that question may not be convenient, but it will be true. With money and resources, the energy today asks for intention over impulse. There's a tendency now to soothe discomfort through spending, or to chase a fleeting moment of satisfaction. But what if, before clicking buy, you paused and asked, is this nourishing me, or distracting me? True abundance begins with conscious choice. The color gold, especially in its deeper, earthier tones, carries the symbolic vibration of prosperity rooted in confidence. Visualize that shade, let it remind you that wealth isn't about excess, but about alignment. When it comes to love, the invitation is to return to sincerity. If you're in a relationship, this may be the moment to release the small performances you didn't even realize you were offering, to stop managing how you're seen and simply be present. Let your partner meet the real you, not the curated version. There's a quiet beauty in authenticity that no act can replace. If you're single, be mindful of the emotional armor you may still be wearing, not out of pride, but self-protection. It served a purpose, but it may now be blocking something soft and genuine from reaching you. Consider what it would feel like to set it down, just for a little while. There's a teaching that says the path becomes clearer not by forcing answers, but by living in alignment with awareness. That applies here. Life is not demanding radical changes today, it's offering micro moments of presence. A chance to notice where you're pushing too hard, where you're out of sync, and where your inner rhythm is asking to lead. Trust that. You don't have to figure everything out at once. You just have to listen, adjust, and stay honest with what's real for you right now. That is enough. And that is more powerful than you might think. You were never meant to shrink yourself to fit inside someone else's version of acceptable. You were not placed here to wait for permission or applause. Your very being is evidence of light, of fire, of purpose already written in your bones. And the truth is, Leo, your mission was never about proving your worth. It was always about remembering it. If today stirred something in you, an inner knowing, a breath of clarity, or even just the awareness that something needs to shift, then you've already begun. Change doesn't happen in one leap, it happens in the small, repeated moments of courage when you choose yourself over performance, alignment over perfection. The universe isn't trying to test you or trap you. It's nudging you, softly, to turn inward and ask, is this still true for me? Does this still support who I'm becoming? That discomfort you might have felt lately? That was never a punishment. It was a sacred invitation. You don't need to have every answer right now. You only need to commit to listening, to honoring your intuition, even when it's quiet. Because it's never really been about the noise outside you. It's about whether you're willing to trust the frequency within. So I want to gently ask you, what's one small choice you can make today that supports the version of you who no longer seeks approval to shine? What's one belief, one habit, or one fear that you're ready to release, not because it's wrong, but because you've outgrown it? And who might you become if you allowed your light to exist, not as performance, but as truth? If you feel this message resonates with you, if something in you feels seen, awakened, or even slightly cracked open, then I invite you to anchor that shift by commenting below. I choose to walk the highest path of my soul. Not for me. Not for anyone else. But for you. As a declaration to yourself. As a signal to the universe. Because when you speak from alignment, the universe listens, and it rearranges everything to meet you at your level of clarity. And if you feel someone in your life needs this reminder, another Leo, or anyone who's forgotten their inner radiance, share this video with them. Let your light ripple outward. That's what real power looks like, not dominance, but influence born from authenticity. Before we go, I want to thank you. Truly. Your time, your energy, your openness, it matters. Every comment you leave, every like, every moment you choose to subscribe to Eternal Mindfulness, it allows this space to grow and reach others who, just like you, are on the verge of remembering who they are. Your presence here is not only felt, it's honored. So thank you, from the depth of my heart, for showing up. And remember, you don't have to try to shine. You already are the light. All that's left is to stop dimming it. Now tell me, what part of today's message resonated with you the most? What will you carry with you as you step into the rest of your day? I'd love to hear your reflections in the comments. Until next time, keep choosing your truth, your light, and your highest path. The universe will meet you there.